Hey y'all, welcome back. Super glad you're here. Very excited for this week of playing with character and story. I'm coming to you on this strange day where it was just raining extremely hard and now it's extremely sunny. So it's kind of a wacky day that's getting me feeling wacky and off center, which is awesome for the kind of work that we're going to do this week. So we're going to start as always with our opening breaths. So I would invite you to just shift your weight in your seat if you're sitting, or shift how you're lying down, or shift how you're standing to get into an open and receptive posture. So for me right now, this is looking like my chest opening, my shoulders down, my vertebrae stacked, and imagining that there is like a string pulling me up from the back of the top of my head. I'm just in an alignment, an open and tall alignment with my spine. So that's how I'm sitting. It might look a little bit different for your body, but getting into a space where you feel open and receptive. I'm also going to have my hands down on top of my thighs because I'm feeling a need for a little bit of grounding today because I feel really kind of buzzy in a weird way. You might be looking for more inspiration, in which case you might want to have your hands with your palms up. All of that is stuff that you can negotiate, but get into a space that feels good for your body. And if it's comfortable and safe, you can close your eyes. If it's not comfortable for you to do that or not safe for you to do that, you can keep them open with a soft gaze. Let's tap in first just to the awareness that breath is coming in and out of the body. If you're in a space right now, as I am, where the sun is coming in through your window, see if you can really tap into how it feels to just have the sun shining on you. Remember, as always, that the purpose of us setting aside this time to breathe at the beginning and the end of our classes is to remind ourselves that this time is special and this time is set aside for just us to work on making new and exciting and compelling creative choices. So whatever kind of day you've had so far, you are welcome to bring that here if it's helpful. You are welcome to leave it at the door if that's helpful and possible. Remember that this space is just for you, for your voice to be heard, for you to explore what's coming up for you in making creative choices, for you to explore what gets you passionate, what makes you excited to tell stories. And in that vein, I would invite you to set an intention for this week, a way that you would like to show up to these classes this week, maybe something you'd like to do differently than you've done in the past, maybe something you'd like to continue doing the way you've done it in the past. But setting an intention can help us stay focused on the task as it presents itself in each moment of just being present. See if something floats up in your consciousness. Don't need to force it, but if you listen, it might be there. And after that, I would invite you to just direct your attention to various parts of your body. Do kind of a body scan to see, where are you tight? Where are you holding tension? Where are you sore? What parts of your body might need a little bit of extra love and attention from your breath? And see if you can imagine sending a healing breath or sending a loosening, relaxing breath to each of those areas in your body that needs some attention. If you need more time to breathe and get centered, you're always welcome to pause the video and just come back when you're ready and done. But if you're feeling like you're ready to move on to our warm-up and move on to some of the exploration we're going to do this week, after you've taken a few last breaths on your own, you can flutter your eyes open if they've been closed, or return your attention to the screen. So as I mentioned briefly, we're moving into week 3. We started getting in touch with ourselves, what we bring to a creative practice, why we want to tell stories or make theater. We tapped in last week to the principles of improv, the idea of yes and playing with other people, making creative choices and accepting them. This week we're going to move on to working on character, and I think we might leave the story stuff to next week because there's a lot of really rich stuff that we can do with character. So let's get ourselves up and moving. The thing that I would invite you to do is to make as much of an open space as you can this week, because we're going to do some walking around. So just get as much space as you possibly can. I know we're all locked into our rooms. But find a spot in the middle of that space to just start getting some momentum going by twisting from side to side. One of the things we're going to explore this week is the idea of being off-center. We spend a lot of our time in our warm-ups and in our opening breaths getting centered, really, really tapping into where our body is. And we use that centeredness, I think, when we're creating characters. I'm just going to ask you while I'm talking to do whatever your body needs, so shake it out a little bit or stretch certain parts of your body that need it. I'll leave that up to you. But when we're creating characters, I have a book on my shelf that's called Normal Sucks, and I think that that's a really good way of thinking about characters. We're not really interested in characters that are just totally like exactly everyone else. We're interested, and our heart goes out to characters that have some weird quirks about them or are just a little bit unconventional. They're a little off-center. Those are the characters whose stories we really want to follow. And so I would just invite you in the course of this week, as we're exploring creating characters, to get comfortable being silly, get comfortable getting wacky and outrageous, and being off-center, because that's the people that we actually really find the most interesting, and those are the people that I think are really most beautiful in the world. So that's where we're going this week. So just play with shifting your weight. Good. And general shakeout here. Shake out your voice. Like a horse. One more time. Good. And open up the voice. Cool. Let's roll our shoulders. Rolling back first. Then we're going to bring fingers to shoulders in order to circle our elbows around, opening up all the muscles in the back space. And then I'll invite you to do full circumductions, full rotations, using your whole arm and hands. Again, getting as much opening space here in our chest and torso and in our back. Good. And roll forward this time. Fingers to shoulders, rotating our elbows. And moving along to full rotations. Opening up in our chest and back. Shake it out. Good. And let's just try squatting down a little bit. And again, shifting our weight. You can't really see me down here, so I'll shift this. Squatting and shifting our weight, pulling ourselves off center, and then recentering. You might start moving a little bit like a monkey. This is one of my favorite exercises, to just get my whole body moving. And when I look at my body right now in the screen, I'm like, oh my gosh, look at those huge limbs, right? My arms are really long right now. My legs are really long right now. I might normally look at that and think, ugh, how ugly. But in this moment, as I'm thinking normal sucks, I really want to just tap into how great it is to have long arms and legs. Cool. Shake that out. Let out a sigh. Another one, big breath, and then a sigh. One more from the very top of your range down to the bottom, big breath. Good. Let's do, this is an exercise that I just learned this past weekend when I was doing a clown workshop. So what we're gonna do is we'll start by just rocking back and forth on our feet. Again, we're exploring not being totally centered over our feet, but moving forward, and what you can't necessarily see, but I'll put this down here. Just rocking forward and back. Okay? Bring this back up. Rocking forward and back. And find your way to the front of your feet, so leaning a little bit forward, but with still all of your foot on the floor. And get your arms out to the side. And then, just like you're falling out of an airplane, go, ah! And let all the junk fall out of your head. All the stuff that says, I have to make this choice, or I have to think about it this way, let it fall out of your head. So we'll do that one more time, rocking forward and back to just get ourselves off center, prepared to make some choices that might be wacky. And then falling, or kind of getting your weight to the front of your feet, spreading your arms out to the side, and jump out of the plane. All the junk out of your head. Awesome. Shake that out. Let's do one more physical exercise, which was what we did last time, of just imagining that we are taking a huge stone, a huge boulder from the floor, and just see how much of your body you can get in muscular engagement, remembering the rule of making sure that the space stays active, right? So if I have a boulder this size, I can't suddenly collapse it to that size unless I live in a world where there's magic where I can do that. So if I want the audience to really believe there's something heavy that I'm lifting, I really have to preserve the rules of the world that I'm living in. So take one more time, I'll do it one more time with you, to just lift the big boulder and make this one the biggest and heaviest yet. And try bringing it all the way back over your head and throwing. Good. Let that go. So in this clown workshop that I did this weekend, something that we did that I loved and found so interesting was we all made up songs and sang them to each other. And the songs that we could sing to each other had one of three titles. It could be I Love It, I Wish, or The Thing I Worry About Is. And these songs were opportunities to tap into what we were really feeling in that moment. And they're also really great ways of getting into the interior world of a character, which is part of what we want to do this week. So at this moment, I'm not actually going to sing a song for you, but I'm just going to ask you to remember, I love it, I wish, and the thing I worry about is, because we're going to do some exploration where we're building characters from the outside in, using physicality to give us a sense or a cue or just a glimmer of intuition about who the person is that we're carrying in our body at this moment. And one of the things we might ask ourselves to do is to speak or sing about what that character loves, what that character worries about, and what that character wishes. And that's going to give us a lot of information to play with. So here is what we're going to do. I asked you to make a bit of a big space because we're going to do what's called a spacewalk. And a spacewalk is, very simply, just walking around your space, covering as many pieces of the space as you can. So just, I'll say now, because I'm not going to remember, I'm going to be in and out of the screen because I'm trying to walk around as much of my space as I can. And when I'm doing a spacewalk, I have permission to change direction. I have permission to experiment with tempo or speed, feeling what it's like to walk very slowly, feeling what it's like to walk really fast. Of course, in a space this small, I cover it very quickly when I'm walking very fast. So experiment with tempo. Good. Come back to a kind of standard walking pace. And you might want to experiment with height. What is it like to be walking on your tiptoes? How does that make you feel? Of course, you can't see my face right now, so you're just watching a body talking at you, which might be kind of silly and funny. Or experiment with walking low. What is that like? Who might a character that walks low be? Good, let that go. Back to kind of a standard walking pace. You might experiment with the quality of movement. So a jerky walk is one way to walk around your space. And this might be something that certain characters have as part of their natural gait, or it could be evidence of a difference in their bodies from the way that your body naturally moves. And really smooth walking might also be interesting to explore. How is this different from dancing? Is it different from dancing at all? What kind of character might move in this way? Great, let that go. So just already, there's three things, at least three things that you can be experimenting with. Tempo, so how fast or slow you're walking. Height, how tall or low to the ground you're walking. And quality of motion. Are you walking in a jerky way? Are you walking in a smooth way? Those are things that you can always be exploring on your own. You can always change direction on your own. The intention is to not know where you're going, but just say yes and to all the impulses that come up. And the next thing that I'll ask us to do as we're doing this spacewalk is to explore what it's like to lead with a part of our body. So without thinking about it too hard, I started leading with my right shoulder. And now I'm just exploring, what is it like to be walking as though my right shoulder is the thing that's really directing me? It's a different way to walk. It's not how I usually walk, so I'm exploring it. It's already shifting my quality of movement. I'm noticing that I'm getting jerky. I'm starting to feel a little tentative in the way that I'm walking. All of that is information that's coming up from my system about who this character might be that's walking this way and what situation they might find themselves in. So experiment. It doesn't have to be your right shoulder. It can be another part of your body. But just try leading with a part of your body. See what naturally comes up, what naturally comes to you. And wherever you are leading from, I'm leading from my right shoulder. It might be different for you. Let's imagine that whatever I did at first is a 5 on a scale of 10. So there are more subtle versions of leading with my right shoulder, and there are more powerful or more intense versions of leading from my right shoulder. So if I'm leading from a place of 5 on a scale of 10, take it up to a 6. Make it a little bit more intense. What is it like to be leading from this part of your body at a scale of 6 out of 10? Take it up to a 7. So I'm like really starting to get quite intense in the way that I'm leading, and I'm really having some thoughts about who this person might be or what situation they might be in. Take it to an 8. So really quite intensely leading with whatever part of your body you're leading with. Take it to a 9. And now my speed is changing in response to this because I'm feeling so intense. And take it to a 10, all the way to the most you could possibly be leading from in this part of your body. And wherever it is, I invite you to stop, take a shape, as we've been doing, and just see with a couple of sighs, is there a voice that comes up with this character? Maybe try babbling like we did last time. So I'm finding that whoever this character is, for some reason I'm tending to have this kind of quality in my voice. Now I move from the babbling into talking to you in the language that we both understand, and I'm telling you that it's becoming clear to me in this moment that my name is Bobby. My name is Bobby. Hello, it's so nice to meet you. And you know, I want to tell you that I've been working in the same restaurant for 45 years, and I just got this shoulder that kind of bugs me. So that's what I wanted you to know about me. Okay, very nice to see you. Bye-bye. So whatever you've been doing, whatever part of your body you've been leading from, moving from taking those breaths and sighing, into babbling and seeing if there's a quality of your voice that starts to just come naturally to you, and then shift into English or into another language, actually, if there's another language that's coming to you that you know and speak and would like to use. Shifting into a language that is spoken by more than just the babble person inside your mind. And seeing if there's a name that comes up, seeing if there's, as I had come up for me, an occupation, a job that this person has had. Possibly, as ultimately came up for me, I decided to kind of explain and justify why my shoulder was leading me. But that doesn't have to be the case. You don't have to explain why you were leading from a part of your body. But in all of that, I didn't know that that was Bobby. I'm not sure that that has to be Bobby forever. I think I could do this physicality and have a totally other character emerge. But using the principles of yes and, I just started talking like this, and I decided to say, okay, yes, and this is my character now, and I'll just talk to you. And then once I was done, I let it go, right? So this is an exercise in listening to your instincts, giving it a try, seeing what comes up. If you love it and you want to keep playing with that character all day, more power to you. If you give it a try and you're like, great, I tried that character, doesn't feel like an interesting character to me, that's fine too. Let it go and we'll move on, because we're going to do this spacewalk 2 more times. So whatever part of your body you've been leading from, whatever babble or whatever, well, I should give you space. So I'm going to invite you at this moment, if you haven't done this yet, I'm going to just say this is a moment where you can pause the video. You can keep walking in whatever part of your body you were leading from. And you can take it up to a 10 and then babble if you didn't have a chance to do that yet, and start talking and see if you can shift into a language that is actually spoken in the world, and see if a name comes up, see if a situation comes up, see if I love or I wish or the things that I worry about are come up. Give yourself a moment to play with that. Press pause and do that before we move on to the second spacewalk. Okay? So, now that you've done that, perhaps, let's move on and do another spacewalk. So shake out whatever you had and just return to walking as you normally would in your space, remembering that you always have permission to change direction. You have permission to experiment with height. You have permission to play with tempo and quality of movement. And whatever choice you make in one moment, if you like it, if you don't like it, doesn't really matter that much. Just be playful with it, just be fluid with it, let it be, and move on and make a new choice the next moment. That's how this works. Okay, so I would invite you to start leading from another part of your body. This time I chose my left hip, so I'm leading from my left hip. Might be very different for you. And remember that this is a 5. And whatever it's like to be leading, take it to a 6. I'm finding it very hard to lead from my left hip, so I'm really getting interested in that. Take it to a 7. I'm starting to notice some changes in my physicality. I'm getting tight in my neck, and that's giving me some interesting information about this character. My hand movements are changing. Take it to an 8, wherever you are. Take it to a 9. And take it to a 10. Leading from that part of your body at a level of 10. And pause, take a shape. Wherever you are, give a sigh. Another sigh. And a third one. And try babbling. Hello. Hello. I'm feeling very worried right now. I'm just feeling very worried, and the things that I'm worried about are whether my daughter is going to get accepted into the school of her choice in the fall. It's very, very worrisome to me, and I just don't know what I will do if she doesn't get accepted. So I just wanted to share that with you. I hope, and I think I'm kind of coming from a different country now. It seems like my manner of talking is changing. Oh, give yourself a little laugh, whatever this character laughs like. Oh, good. Shake it out. So, I made a choice. I'm not totally convinced of my choice, but it's okay. I'm letting it go, whatever it was. So if you haven't yet taken a moment, pause the video again. Do the leading all the way up to a 10. Let out some sighs. Or if the sigh's not working for you, try laughing first. Or try screaming first, like you're falling out of the airplane. Do what works for you to just get into that character, and then give it a babble. Start talking, see if something comes up. I decided that time to use one of the stems of I love it, I wish, I'm worried about. And that led me somewhere. Not totally convinced of that character, but it's okay. Life will move on. It's just one try. So take a moment to pause, and then we'll do one more spacewalk. Okay. So this time, here we go again. Walking around, just as you would normally walk, or not. This is obviously not how I normally walk. Shake yourself out. I'm feeling some nervous energy, so I'm gonna shake that out. Awesome. And this time, pick a different way to lead, starting at 5. Go straight up to 7 this time. I'm leading from the top of my forehead here. Go to 9, so skipping over 6 and 8. And then go to 10. Hi. And now take it back to a 7. See if you can remember what that feels like. It's a little different than 10. Take it back to a 5. Now take it down to a 4. What's it like to still be leading with a part of your body, but at a level of 4 out of 10? Take it down to 3. And you might notice that as we go lower on the scale, we might start to feel a little bit more like a realistic character. Take it down to 2. And that is something that can serve us well if we want to create a realistic piece of theater. We don't always want to do that. It's not the only kind of theater you can do. But if you want to create something that is realistic to an audience, you might want to play with these character physicalities. I'm taking it down to a 1 now, on a lower level on the scale. Because now I'm aware that I'm leading with my body. I'm leading with the top of my forehead, but it's so subtle that I might just seem to be a person that is talking to you in a different physicality than I normally would, and we can have a conversation, and it's probably going to be a little bit more for an audience, like something that they can really imagine happening in real life. But there are other moments where I really might want to lead from a 5 or a 7 or a 10, so that I'm making a piece of theater that's not necessarily realistic, but is very theatrical. Okay, so experimenting with both sides of the spectrum, going all the way up to 10, going all the way down to 1, figuring out where you want to live, will be helpful for you as you create pieces of theater that fit within a style. I tend to be a person that likes the stuff that's not super realistic, although I love some realistic stuff too, but I tend to go more in the exaggerated direction because it's just fun for me. But some people really feel like they gravitate toward the realistic side of the spectrum, and what they're interested in making theater is telling a story that people can imagine happening, next door to them tomorrow. So you'll find that as you continue to explore who you are as a theater maker, what kinds of styles are you interested in working in? And if you really love working in the naturalistic or realistic side, take a field trip over here to extremism and absurdism. And if you gravitate, as I do, toward kind of extreme physicality, then take a field trip over here and experiment with using the same principle of physically finding a character, but doing it in just a much more subtle way. And you'll find that the kinds of things that come out here, if I'm speaking to you, I'm still getting a sense of a character, but it feels different to me. And I find myself wanting to talk to you in a way that you might recognize as real. So different things will come out on different sides of that spectrum. So experiment. That's an invitation for you to play. So we're coming to the end of our class. I wanted to devote most of our time today to doing these spacewalks because I think spacewalks are an incredibly valuable tool in a theater maker's toolbox to just experiment with what it's like to find yourself, again, off-center and create a character momentarily based on those intuitions. There's no rule book here, and there's no need to be clever. One of the things that I struggle with as a theater maker, and that I was thinking a lot about in this clown workshop this weekend, is how can I get beneath the level where, as my teacher said, how can you get beneath the level where you're trying to solve the problem of the exercise and get the right answer? When we watch someone on stage trying to solve the problem of the exercise and get the right answer, we might feel very much that that person has done a good job in some ways, but we also might feel a little distant from the really vulnerable piece of them that would come out if they were able to relax and say, I don't have to have the right answer. I get to just try and just play. And so I invite that for you, if you are a person like me that is trying to get the right answer a lot of the time. Just notice that and see if you can invite yourself to mess it up a little bit. See if you can invite yourself to be a little unexpected. I won't say more on that, but I know that it's something that comes up for me a lot. So my invitation for you for homework for further exploration is to keep doing this, keep exploring, leading from a part of your body and seeing what character comes out of that physicality. And in the spaces where you might stop and either sigh or laugh or cry or scream and then going into babbling, keep experimenting with what it's like not only to say, I love it, or I wish, or the thing that I worry about is, but actually to sing a song. You might find that really interesting things happen if you just start making up a song and you don't know where it's going. It sometimes will lead you to interesting places. So give that a try over the next 2 days, and we'll do some more character work on Thursday. So I would invite you to get yourself into the same kind of position that you were in at the beginning. Open and alert. Take a deep breath in and sigh. Another one in and sigh. We'll close as we always do with 4 breaths together. First, a breath for the ancestors each of us brings to this space and the indigenous people that were here before colonization. Breathing in and out. A breath to thank yourself for your practice today. Breathing in and out. A breath to thank others for their support. Breathing in and out. And a breath for the intentions and well-being of everyone in the PASA virtual theater community and everyone in your circle of loved ones and friends. Breathing in and out. The loving and creative human in me celebrates the loving and creative human in you. Be well. I'll see you again later this week.